Hello kids, today we will be seeing the third video of chapter 12 reproduction in plants, and today we will be studying in detail about the sexual reproduction in plants. Okay, ready? Now you have already studied, isn't it, in the first video that the reproductive part or the reproductive organ of a plant is the flower. Okay, now these are the different parts of a flower. You might have studied this in smaller classes, still a quick review. Okay, now which are the different parts of a flower? A flower will be having a green colored base called as the sepal. So part number 1 is the sepal. Then it will be having a colorful portion called as the petal, number 2. Then it will be having two more portions. The third one is the stamen. Stamen is otherwise called as the male reproductive part of a flower. Then it will be having a pistil, part number 4. Pistil is called as the female reproductive part of a flower. So is this clear? So these are the 4 parts of a flower. Okay. The number of stamens and pistils in a flower can change according to the type of flowers. Okay. Now we are going to see in detail about the stamen and pistil. Now see, the first one is a pistil, the female reproductive part of a plant. Okay. The pistil is having 3 parts again. The first part is a swollen base, you call it as the ovary, number 1. The ovary leads to a tubular structure called as the style, number 2. At the tip of the style, you will get a portion called as the stigma, number 3. So, which are the 3 parts of the pistil? Ovary, style and stigma. Okay. Inside the ovary, you will get small tiny structures called as ovules. So, you can get ovules inside the ovary. Clear? Now, inside the ovule, what will you see? Inside the ovule, you can see that there is female gamete. Now, this may be a new term, isn't it? Gamete. Gamete means it is a reproductive cell. The cell which is going to undergo reproduction is called as a gamete. So, the female reproductive cell is called as the female gamete. Where can you see the female gamete in a flower? Inside the ovule. Understood? So, inside the ovule you will get the female gamete or the female reproductive cell. And where is the ovule present? Inside the ovary. Hope it is clear. Now we will study about the stamen. Stamen is having 2 parts. Pistil was having 3, but stamen is having only 2 parts. Okay. Which are the 2 parts? Number 1, it is having a long filament. Okay. Can you see this long filament of the of the stamen? And at the tip of this long filament, you will get a bilobe, 2-lobe structure. You call it as the anther. This is second part, number 2. Okay, so 2 lobes are there. You call it as bilobed anther. So, filament and anther. Now, what will be there inside the anther? As you saw inside the ovary, there is something inside the anther also. Inside the anther, you will get pollen grains. You know what are pollen grains, isn't it? They are yellow colored. I am not using yellow color right now. I am using red here. But actually pollen grains in most of the plants, they are yellow colored dust. You might have seen pollen grains coming and sticking onto your hands, isn't it? Yellow colored dusty particles. So, inside the anther, you will get pollen grains. Now, inside the pollen grain, what is present? As there is a female gamete inside the ovule, there will be a male gamete inside the pollen grain. So, hope this is clear. So, once more, Coming to a pistil, pistil is having three parts, ovary, style and stigma. Inside the ovary you will get ovule, inside the ovule you will be getting a female gamete. Similarly, a stamen is having two parts, a long filament and a bilobed anther. Inside the anther you get pollen grains, and within the pollen grains you can see the male gametes. So, the thing which you have to remember here is a part of the pistil and stamen. Second one, where the location of the male and female gamete in a flower. Okay? Yes. So, once more, the same thing, it is repeated. Stamen is the male reproductive part. Inside the stamen you will get pollen grains. Inside the pollen grain you will get the male gamete. Is that clear? Pistil is the female reproductive part of a flower. Inside the pistil, inside the pistil, inside the ovary of the pistil you will get ovules, and inside the ovule there will be female gamete. Another name for a female gamete is egg. Clear? Now, this male gamete and the female gamete or egg, these two structures will fuse to form a new cell. When they fuse, they result in the formation of a new cell. This newly formed cell, you call it as the zygote. Understood what is a zygote? So, what is zygote? It is the fusion product of the male and female gamete. Okay, so the male gamete inside the pollen grain and the female gamete inside the ovule will fuse together to form a new cell. That new cell is what is called as the zygote. So, it is a fusion product of male and female gamete. Hope it is clear. Okay, so with that, the parts of a flower is over. Okay, now we will see about pollination. Now, what is pollination? Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. So, what is pollination? Transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. Okay, so anther and stigma, these are the 2 points which you have to remember. So, see this diagram here, the pollen grains are present inside the anther. From here the pollen grains are given out, the pollen grains are coming and falling on the stigma of a flower. Okay, this is what is called as pollination. This pollination can either occur by wind, by water, or sometimes insects, animals, everything can help in the process of pollination. And these things which help in the process of pollination, you call them as the agents of pollination. Okay. Now, pollination is of two types. Which are they? Number 1, self-pollination. Number 2, cross-pollination. If the pollen grains of the anther, the pollen grain from the anther comes and fall on the stigma of the same flower. So, this is one flower, the flower is having anther and stigma. The pollen grains coming and falling on the stigma of the same flower. You call this as self-pollination. Clear? It is not going, the pollen grains is not going to any other flower. But if this pollen grain of this flower is going and falling on the stigma of another flower, this is flower number 1, this is flower number 2. Okay, the pollen grains are travelling from the first flower and it is going and falling on the stigma of the second flower. You call it as cross-pollination. The other flower may be on the same plant or on a different plant. So, is this clear? So, self and cross-pollination is over. Next, we will just see which are the different agents of pollination. Different agents of pollination, as I have told you earlier, wind is one agent, water is the second agent, then all the different animals, okay, some animals, birds, everything can act as these agents. Okay, in total you can classify the agents into two types, living and non-living agents. Okay, non-living agents are otherwise called as abiotic. Abiotic. Living agents are called as biotic. Bio means life, living. Biotic means living agents. Abiotic means non-living agents. Clear? So, these are the non-living agents, and the animals, insects, everything comes under living or biotic agents. So, hope this topic was clear for you. We are winding up this video. Study well. Have a nice day. Be safe. Bye.